This story will make you question everything you assume about people based on what they wear, how they speak, or where they come from. One man's act of kindness toward two forgotten girls changed not just their lives, but every single person watching that day. Ready to find out how two poor twins silenced a school with nothing but their voices? Let's begin. Hook, the teacher, smirked as she called the girls to the stage. Everyone knew this was a setup to embarrass, but the man hiding at the back of the auditorium clenched his fists, feeling something awaken inside him. He had promised to protect them, and today the world would see why. Lucas Reyes was not just a single dad. He was a man who had seen loss, heartbreak, and the deepest kind of loneliness. After his wife passed away and left him to raise his daughter, 8-year-old Aria, Lucas learned early on that a father's strength wasn't shown through muscle, but through mercy. What he did not expect was how something as simple as walking down a cold street one rainy night would change all of their lives forever. He found them huddled under an abandoned market stall. Two girls, maybe 10 years old, barefoot, freezing, and trying to sing each other to sleep. Their voices were weak, barely a whisper, but something in the way they harmonized made Lucas pause. He handed them his umbrella, but the oldest clung to it like it was the first gift she had ever received. Their names were Leah and Luna. They hadn't eaten in 2 days. No parents, no siblings, no one. Lucas brought them home without thinking twice. Aria ran to them with open arms, asking a million questions, offering them her toys, her blankets, her friendship. That night, Lucas listened outside their door as the three girls talked under dim lights, whispered about bad dreams, and laughed at silly stories. For the first time in years, the cold house felt warm again. But the world outside wasn't so kind. When Lucas enrolled the twins in school, whispers spread like sparks on dry grass. Kids laughed at their worn-out clothes, at their tangled hair, at the fact that they didn't even know their birthday. Leah and Luna didn't cry. They just went quiet, and their silence enraged Lucas. One afternoon, when he arrived to pick them up, he heard the jeering from across the schoolyard. "Your voices suck," a boy shouted. "No wonder nobody wanted you." Lucas's heart cracked, but instead of pulling them out, he made a decision that would define everything that came after. He went to the principal. "Let them sing," he said, "at the school assembly." The principal laughed. "It'll be painful to watch." "Or unforgettable," Lucas replied. The next week, the stage was set. The school bustled with noise. Kids in polished shoes and pressed uniforms lined the seats, whispering and pointing as Leah and Luna stepped forward in their two big borrowed dresses. Everyone assumed they would break down, or worse, embarrass themselves. But Lucas knew something they didn't. In the front row, Aria looked up at her father. "They're scared," she whispered. He nodded. "Watch closely," he said. Leah took Luna's hand. Together, they closed their eyes, and then they began. The room didn't just quiet. It held its breath. Hook when the last note faded, not even a chair squeaked. But the silence didn't last long. What happened next was something no one, not even the people who mocked them, saw coming. Their voices weren't trained, weren't polished, but they were pure. One voice floated high like wind through leaves. The other held steady and deep like the heartbeat of the earth. They sang about longing, about loss, about hope. The school auditorium, once full of restless teenagers tapping feet and passing notes, was now a sea of faces with open mouths and wet eyes. Lucas wiped his face. He had heard them sing before, softly at night in the kitchen to comfort each other, but not like this. They were shining, not because someone gave them permission, because they were finally seen. As the song ended, a single voice rose from the back. A slow, trembling clap, then another and another. Within seconds, the entire school stood to their feet, even the ones who had called them names, even the teacher who said they were too weak to try. Leia and Luna looked at each other, confused, and then smiled for the first time in months. That night, videos of their performance were posted online, and by morning, everything changed. Thousands watched. Thousands commented. A music teacher from a renowned art school reached out. "These voices must be protected. Tell me how I can help," she wrote. For Lucas, this was everything he hoped would happen. But it mattered more to the girls. Leah and Luna weren't just foster kids anymore. They were sisters to Aria, daughters to Lucas, and from that day forward, role models at school. Years later, as the three girls stood backstage preparing to perform for their biggest crowd yet, Luna looked at Lucas and whispered, "Dad, what would have happened if you didn't see us that night?" Lucas smiled, reaching out his hand. I almost didn't, but something told me you weren't meant to fade. You were meant to be heard, and when they walked out on that stage with millions watching, some saw two girls sing, but the ones who listened heard how one act of love can change the world. Sparkle's message: kindness is never wasted. Sometimes the ones we save end up saving us in return.